The ancient defense grid surrounding Earth's former solar system remained vigilant for 5,000 years. Deep within underground vaults across planets and moons, billions of humans slept in stasis pods, maintained by caretaker AIs. Commander Kim Tae-ho had been one of the last to enter stasis, hoping the long sleep would save humanity from resource depletion and external threats. Now, only whispered legends remained of the once powerful human empire. When a curious Zikthari exploration vessel discovered an unmarked human outpost on Triton and attempted to breach its defenses, they inadvertently triggered awakening protocols throughout the system. In the darkness of the Neptune moon base, the first warning lights began to flash after 5 millennia of silence. Commander Kim had stood at the window of Earth's last orbital platform as the final sunset of his era painted the sky. "We will return," he had promised, his weathered hand pressed against the cold glass. His wife, Dr. Nam Soo-jin, had developed the stasis technology that would preserve humanity through its darkest hour. In their final moments together, they spoke not of defeat but hibernation, a strategic retreat when faced with dwindling resources and growing external pressures. The caretaker AIs were born from Dr. Nam's breakthrough work in self-evolving consciousness. Simple at first, they had grown in complexity over the centuries, learning, adapting, and protecting. They tended the vast underground cities built beneath the surfaces of Mars, Venus, Europa, and a dozen other worlds. Inside these vaults, humanity slept, their bodies aging not a day while the stars shifted slowly overhead. Outside, the solar system changed. The automated mining operations expanded across the asteroid belt. Massive factories on Mercury's dark side converted raw materials into the technologies of tomorrow. The defense grid grew more sophisticated with each passing century, with weapon systems that would have seemed like magic to those who designed their earliest blueprints. Kim's last order had been clear: wake us when we can survive or when we must fight. The AIs had chosen patience. Why rush the awakening when time was on their side? Each year brought new advances, new resources stockpiled, new defensive innovations. On a small observation platform orbiting Neptune's largest moon, Triton, the AI-designated Guardian 7 monitored a section of space that had been empty for millennia. Its sensors detected the anomaly immediately, a ship of unknown configuration, using propulsion technology that matched no known human design. Guardian 7 watched silently as the vessel approached the hidden outpost. Protocol dictated observation, only until hostile intent was confirmed. The alien ship, sleek and crystalline, hovered above the ice fields of Triton. From its hull, a probe descended toward the surface, scanning the seemingly barren landscape. Guardian 7 continued passive monitoring, recording everything as the probe detected energy signatures beneath the ice. "Captain, we've found something," said Navigator Zor, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the sensor displays. Energy readings consistent with advanced technology, dormant but intact. Captain Velturak of the Zikathari Dominion exploration vessel stood from his command chair, his tall, slender form moving gracefully across the bridge. The Zikathari had risen to galactic prominence long after the disappearance of humans. To them, humans were merely stories told to frighten young ones, violent, resource-hungry creatures that once dominated this sector before mysteriously vanishing. Could it be them? The Terrans? Asked Science Officer Mezra, using the ancient name for humans found in their historical archives. Velturak chittered softly, a sound of dismissal. The Terrans are gone, likely extinct. Whatever civilization once claimed this system died thousands of years ago. This is probably just automated technology still running on old power sources. How wrong he was. When the Zakathari drilling probe pierced the outer shell of the Triton outpost, Guardian 7 instantly classified the action as hostile. Throughout the solar system, alert protocols activated that had lain dormant since before the Great Sleep. On worlds and moons, in orbital platforms and hidden asteroid bases, lights flickered to life. Deep beneath the surface of Europa, in the central command vault where humanity's military leadership slept, the first revival pods began their warming sequence. The temperature in Commander Park Jisoo's pod rose gradually as nutrients flooded her bloodstream, preparing her body to wake. After 5,000 years. On Triton, Guardian 7 deployed countermeasures. The ice surface beneath the Zekathari probe suddenly erupted as ancient defense systems activated. Energy beams lashed out, cutting through the probe and scoring the hull of the exploration vessel. "We're under attack," screamed Tactical Officer. "David's unknown weapons fire from the surface." Captain Velturak stared in disbelief at the view screen. No one had attacked a Zekathari vessel in living memory. His people were respected, feared throughout known space. "Break orbit, now," he ordered, gripping his command chair as the ship shuddered under another energy blast. As the Zekathari vessel limped away from Triton, Guardian 7 transmitted the threat assessment throughout the solar system. In response, defensive platforms around every planet powered up weapons systems. Mining operations ceased as resources diverted to military readiness. And in stasis vaults across the system, revival protocols began for the first wave of awakening humans. In the darkness of his revival pod, Commander Kim's eyelids fluttered for the first time in 5,000 years. The beast was stirring. "Commander." Park Jisoo awoke with a gasp in the Europa command vault, her mind struggling to process that 5,000 years had passed since she closed her eyes. The military leadership revival protocol had prioritized her awakening after the external breach. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, news of potential human survivors threw the galactic conclave into chaos. "The legends were true," whispered Ambassador. "Krell of the Nathori, the sleeping beasts stir." As some species called for immediate military action, others urged caution. On Mars, Director Lee Hyun began the systematic revival of Earth's greatest scientists and strategists, while the orbital defense platforms silently powered up weapons that had advanced far beyond what humanity had known before their great sleep. Park. Jisoo's throat felt dry as she swallowed for the first time in 5 millennia. The revival chamber hummed softly around her, its blue lights gradually brightening as her eyes adjusted. She remembered the day they had entered stasis, the weight of responsibility, the desperate hope that they would someday wake to a different world. Now that moment had come, triggered not by victory but by threat. "Status report," she croaked, her voice rusty from disuse. The medical AI responded immediately, its voice calm and reassuring. "Commander Park, your vital signs are stabilizing. Muscle density at 82% and rising. Neural pathways reactivating at expected rates. Current date is March 17th, year 7031 by Old Earth calendar. 5,000 years." The number felt impossible, like something from a dream. Her children, her parents, everyone she had known outside the program, dust for centuries. Yet here she was, brought back because humanity needed her once more. The door slid open, revealing Colonel Bei Jin-woo, his own revival clearly recent based on his unsteady gait. They had trained together, fought together, and ultimately entered stasis together as part of humanity's contingency leadership. "The caretakers woke us," he said without preamble. "External contact, hostile intent. Something called the Zekathari breached the Triton outpost." Jisoo nodded, swinging her legs carefully over the edge of the pod. "How many of us are awake?" "Military leadership first, per protocol. About 300 so far across the system. Director Lee on Mars is coordinating the scientific revival." As they spoke, the wall display activated, showing the solar system, but not as Jisoo remembered it. New structures orbited nearly every planet. The asteroid belt had been partially disassembled, its resources converted into massive orbital platforms. Earth itself was surrounded by a thin ring of gleaming satellites. "The caretakers have been busy," she whispered. 5,000 years of uninterrupted development, Jin-woo agreed. "The defensive capabilities alone." He gestured to a highlighted section showing weapons platforms around Jupiter. "These make our old orbital guns look like slingshots." Across the galaxy, the news was spreading like wildfire. The Zekathari exploration vessel limped into the nearest Allied space station, its hull bearing strange energy weapon scars, unlike anything seen before. "They attacked without warning," Captain Velturak insisted to the gathered emergency council. We merely attempted to study an abandoned outpost when energy weapons fired upon us. Ambassador Krell of the Nathori, one of the oldest species in the galactic community, leaned forward on his gnarled staff. His species were known for their long memories and extensive historical archives. "You found humans," he said, not a question but a statement. The chamber fell silent. "The sleeping beasts of Sol." "Humans are extinct," argued the Pelleran representative, her translucent wings fluttering nervously. "They disappeared thousands of years ago." "They didn't disappear," Krell countered. "They withdrew, and now you have awakened them." The galactic conclave erupted into arguments. Some species had only legends of humans, violent, resourceful creatures who had briefly touched the stars before vanishing. Others, with longer histories, remembered actual contact with the human empire during its short but remarkable expansion. "We must strike now," demanded General Zox of the militant Vrexar coalition, "before they fully awaken. Our historical records show these humans were dangerous, adaptable. If they've been developing technology all this time, and start a war with an unknown power," countered Trade Minister Lian, "we know nothing of their current capabilities or intentions." On Mars, Director Li Hyun stood in the central revival chamber as hundreds of stasis pods hummed to life. The best minds of human civilization, scientists, engineers, strategists, were returning to consciousness. She had been among the first awakened in the scientific division, and the responsibility weighed heavily on her slender shoulders. "Bring Dr. Kang Sunmi online next," she instructed the caretaker AI. "Her weapons research will be crucial now." Around her, people were emerging from pods, confused and disoriented. Some wept openly when told how much time had passed. Others immediately asked for updates, their minds already working on the problems ahead. The human spirit remained unbroken despite the long sleep. In orbit around Earth, the defensive grid commander, an advanced AI called Sentinel, activated weapon systems that had evolved over thousands of years. What had begun as simple missile platforms and energy shields had become something far more sophisticated. Gravity manipulation, quantum disruption fields, nanite clouds that could disassemble enemy ships atom by atom. Humanity's guardians had created defenses that the sleeping humans themselves would barely comprehend. Back on Europa, Commander Park studied the tactical displays with growing confidence. Humanity had gambled everything on this long sleep, but the gamble was paying off. They had bought time for their AI guardians to advance their technology, to build and prepare, while the rest of the galaxy forgot to fear them. "Send the message to all awakened personnel," she ordered. "Operation Phoenix is active. We are back." Across the solar system, humans stirred from their long slumber. The beast had not just been sleeping, it had been growing stronger in the darkness, and now it was ready to face the stars once more. "We chose this," explained General Choi Do-won to the newly awakened soldiers. "The reckoning protocol wasn't surrender, it was strategy." Historical records revealed humanity's desperate gambit. Facing resource collapse and early interstellar conflicts, they'd chosen to sleep while their AIs rebuilt and advanced their civilization. When a preemptive alien strike force entered the solar system, they encountered defenses beyond their comprehension. From her command center, Admiral Kang Sunmi watched calmly as nanoswarm defenses and gravitational weapons decimated the alien fleet near Jupiter. "Send the message," she ordered. "Tell them humanity has awakened, and we remember who we are." General Choi stood before 500 soldiers in the Mars Colonial Base's Grand Hall, his uniform crisp, despite having been revived only days earlier. The men and women before him had once been Earth's finest warriors. Now they were relics of a bygone age, awakened to a solar system transformed by 5 millennia of automated progress. "I know what you're feeling," Choi continued, his deep voice echoing in the chamber. "I felt it too. Loss, confusion, anger that we abandoned Earth." He paused, letting his gaze sweep across the room. "But make no mistake, we didn't run away. We played the long game." Behind him, holographic displays showed the Earth they had left behind. Oceans rising, resources dwindling, early conflicts with the first alien species they had encountered, draining what little remained. Humanity had been backed into a corner, facing slow extinction. Our ancestors fought until fighting made no sense, Choi said, pacing slowly across the stage. Then they made the hardest choice possible, to step back, to sleep, to let our creations build while we waited. The Reckoning Protocol wasn't a surrender. It was the most daring military strategy in human history. In the crowd, Sergeant Han, Junho watched with mixed emotions. His family had been among those left behind, deemed non-essential to humanity's future. Only the best soldiers, brightest minds, and most genetically diverse civilians had been chosen for stasis. Billions had been left to face Earth's slow decline. "What about those we left behind?" he called out, unable to contain himself. "My parents, my sisters, we abandoned them." The room fell silent. General Choi didn't flinch from the accusation. "Yes, Sergeant Han, we did. The hardest sacrifice of all. But they knew what they were fighting for, a future where humanity would survive, even if they couldn't see it themselves." He tapped a control on his wrist, and the display changed to show Earth now, green and blue once more, healing after thousands of years without human interference. "They gave us this chance. Don't waste it on guilt." Across the solar system in the newly established Lunar Command Center, Admiral Kang Sunmi reviewed defense readiness reports. At 53, she had been one of the youngest flag officers to enter stasis. Now she commanded humanity's most advanced military force, though she barely understood the weapons at her disposal. "Explain the nanoswarm again," she requested of the AI tactical advisor designated Athena. "The defensive nanoswarm consists of trillions of microscopic robots," Athena explained, her holographic form shifting to show the tiny machines. "They can reconfigure to form physical barriers, weapons platforms, or disassemble enemy technology at the molecular level. The swarm currently deployed around Jupiter's orbit contains enough units to completely break down a capital ship into component atoms in approximately 7.2 minutes. Kang nodded, still struggling to grasp how far technology had advanced while they slept. The weapons she had known, nuclear missiles, railguns, energy beams, now seemed primitive compared to gravity weapons that could crush enemy ships by increasing local space-time density, or quantum field disruptors that simply erased matter from existence. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "long-range sensors are detecting a fleet approaching from the heliopause. Multiple ships, formation consistent with military deployment." So it begins, Kang thought. The alien response to humanity's awakening had been swift. After the Zekathari incident, the Galactic Conclave had debated for nearly 3 weeks before. The war faction won out. Better to crush the human threat before it fully reawakened, they had decided. They had no idea what awaited them. "Deploy defensive positions," Kang ordered calmly. "No aggressive action until they cross Jupiter's orbit." On the command deck of the Vrexer dreadnought Unstoppable, Fleet Commander Gortak surveyed the approaching human solar system with confidence. His fleet comprised 70 capital ships and 200 support vessels, the largest armada assembled in the sector for generations. "These humans have slept for millennia," he told his officers. "Whatever automated defenses they have will be nothing compared to our modern weapons. We will crush them before they fully awaken, and the galaxy will thank us for eliminating this legendary threat." How wrong he was. When the alien fleet crossed Jupiter's orbit, Admiral Kang gave the order. "Defensive measures authorized. Show them who we are." The space around Jupiter's orbit suddenly shimmered as trillions of nanomachines activated, forming a barely visible cloud. The alien ships fired their weapons, energy beams, plasma torpedoes, kinetic projectiles, but all were absorbed or deflected by the swarm. Then, the nanoparticles swarmed over the lead ships, burrowing into hulls, disintegrating weapons and disabling propulsion systems. At the same time, gravitational weapons activated. Space itself seemed to fold around selected enemy vessels, crushing them like paper toys. Ships that tried to retreat found themselves caught in quantum disruption fields that caused matter to simply cease existing. From her command center, Admiral Kang watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. 5,000 years ago, humanity had faced extinction. Now they held power beyond imagination. "The lead ships are retreating, Admiral," reported her tactical officer. 80% of the fleet has been neutralized. Kang nodded slowly. Send. The message on all frequencies, all known languages. Throughout the solar system, other awakened humans watched the battle unfold. In the Mars colonial base, General Choi and his soldiers witnessed the display of power their long sleep had purchased. On Europa, Commander Park Ji-soo monitored the situation with strategic interest. And deep within Mercury's industrial complexes, Director Lee Hyun and her scientists observed the effectiveness of technologies they were still struggling to understand. The message Admiral Kang sent echoed across the stars, a declaration not of war but of existence. Attention all species of the galactic community. Humanity has awakened from its long slumber. We did not disappear, we waited. We did not surrender, we prepared. We remember who we are. We seek no conflict, but we will defend ourselves without mercy if threatened again. The solar system is ours as it has always been. Approach in peace or not at all. In the silence that followed, the galaxy held its breath. The sleeping beast was awake, and it was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. For 5 millennia we've been painted as monsters, said diplomat Song Min-ho to the Galactic Conclave representatives. But our records tell a different story. As humanity established contact with galactic society, they discovered how their history had been distorted into nightmare. Meanwhile, within Saturn's rings, Dr. Oh Soo-jin activated the final phase of humanity's grand plan, revolutionary technology developed over thousands of years by the tireless caretaker AIs. It's ready, she reported to Earth Command. Project Daybreak is operational. The galaxy would soon discover that humanity hadn't just been sleeping, they had been preparing. The Galactic Conclave's grand chamber fell silent as diplomat Song Min-ho stepped onto the speaking platform. The human was smaller than many had expected. The legend spoke of terrifying giants, not this calm figure in simple blue robes. Representatives from over 300 species watched with a mixture of fear, curiosity, and hostility. After the disastrous military defeat at Jupiter, the Conclave had reluctantly agreed to diplomatic talks. I thank you for this opportunity to speak, Song began, his voice clear and unwavering. For 5,000 years while we slept, our story has been told by others. We've been painted as monsters, bloodthirsty conquerors who disappeared to plot greater violence. He paused, looking around the vast amphitheater. But our records tell a different story. The holographic display behind him activated, showing Earth as it had been before the sleep. Oceans rising, storms raging across continents, resources depleted. We faced extinction, Song continued, not from military defeat, but from our own success. We had reached the limits of what our homeworld could provide. Our first steps into space, our early encounters with other species, they came at exactly the wrong time. We lacked the resources to maintain peaceful expansion. Some among us pushed for war, for taking what we needed by force. Ambassador Krell of the Nathori leaned forward on his ancient staff. And yet you chose another path. Why? Song nodded respectfully to the old alien. Because our greatest minds saw that conflict would only hasten our end. Instead, we gambled everything on a different strategy, the long sleep. We would retreat, seal our system, and allow our automated guardians to rebuild while we waited for a time when we could return to the stars properly. Convenient, growled the Vrexar representative, still bitter after their fleet's humiliation. You expect us to believe you harbored no ill intent. Your weapons tell a different tale. Our weapons, Song replied calmly, were developed by our caretaker AIs for one purpose only, to protect us while we slept. Had your fleet come in peace, they would have been greeted in peace. In the viewing gallery, Commander Park Ji-soo watched with interest. She had advocated against this diplomatic mission, believing it showed weakness so soon after their show of strength. But President Han had insisted that humanity's return to the galactic stage needed to be balanced, strength and wisdom in equal measure. They're afraid of us, whispered Colonel Bay beside her. Look at them. 5,000 years of ghost stories come to life. Jisoo nodded slowly. Fear makes for poor diplomacy. We need to show them we're not the monsters of their nightmares. On the speaking platform, Song continued his address. We've reviewed the historical archives our caretaker AIs collected during our absence. We've seen how our disappearance was interpreted, how rumors of human aggression grew into legends of horror. But we ask you to see us as we truly are. A species that chose patience over violence, strategy over conquest. Deep within Saturn's rings, hidden from external sensors by the ice and dust, Dr. Oh Soo-jin floated in the zero-gravity chamber of Research Station Prometheus. Through the viewport, she could see the massive structure that represented 50 centuries of continuous development. Project Daybreak. Final diagnostic complete, reported her assistant, Dr. Kim Jun-ho. All systems nominal. Soo-jin nodded, her eyes never leaving the gleaming structure. When she had entered stasis, the project had been theoretical, a distant hope based on cutting-edge physics. Now, after 5,000 years of uninterrupted research and development by the caretaker, AI's theory had become reality. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Generations of human scientists dreamed of this moment, and none lived to see it," Jun-ho replied quietly. Soo-jin turned to him, her expression serious. "We are seeing it for them. Their theories, their hopes. We carry them with us." She tapped the communication panel. "Earth Command, this is Research Station Prometheus. Project Daybreak is operational. Repeat, Project Daybreak is operational. Awaiting final authorization. Thousands of kilometers away, in the rebuilt command center beneath the Himalayan mountains, President Han Jin-woo received the message. Around him, the newly formed Human Council, representatives from each awakened colony, waited in tense silence. "This changes everything," said Director Lee, her voice hushed with awe. "If Project Daybreak works as designed, we don't need to fight for our place in the galaxy. We can simply claim it." "Power without wisdom is dangerous," cautioned Elder Cho, one of the few spiritual leaders included in the First Awakening. "We slept to avoid becoming conquerors out of desperation. We should not wake as conquerors out of opportunity." President Han nodded slowly. "Agreed. Project Daybreak will be our olive branch, not our sword." He pressed the communication panel. "Dr. Oh, you have authorization to proceed with final preparations. We'll coordinate the reveal with Diplomat Song's mission." Back in the Galactic Conclave, the debate had grown heated. Many species remained unconvinced by Song's explanation, their fear too deeply ingrained to be easily dispelled. The human speaks of peace, yet their system bristles with weapons beyond our understanding, argued the Zekthari representative. "How can we trust a species that has hidden away for millennia, developing means to destroy us?" "Perhaps," suggested Ambassador Trell of the peaceful Lumerians, "we should judge them by their actions now, not by our fears. They have shown restraint. They did not pursue your fleet after defending themselves. They sought dialogue." Song raised his hand, waiting for the chamber to quiet. "Representatives of the galaxy, I understand your concerns. Words alone cannot ease 5,000 years of suspicion. That is why humanity offers more than words." He touched a small device on his wrist. "At this moment, we are prepared to demonstrate the true purpose of our long sleep, a gift to all spacefaring species. In Tomb." Saturn's rings, Dr. O received the signal. With steady hands, she initiated the startup sequence for Project Daybreak. The massive structure began to hum with energy, gathering power from the quantum vacuum itself. "Power levels at 30% and rising," reported Dr. Kim. "Spatial metrics stable, quantum field integrity holding." Soo-jin watched the readings with intense focus. 5,000 years of development, and now she would be the one to activate the most advanced technology ever created by humanity. Or rather, created for humanity by their AI guardians. 50%, 60, 70. In the conclave chamber, Song's wrist device projected a holographic view of Saturn's rings, where a strange distortion was beginning to form, a perfectly circular opening in space itself. "For 5 millennia," Song announced, "while we slept, our caretaker AIs worked tirelessly on a single goal, to create what our scientists had only dreamed of, a stable wormhole generator." The gasps and murmurs swept through the chamber as the implications became clear. Faster than light travel. It existed in the galaxy, but it was dangerous, energy-intensive, and limited in range. A stable wormhole would revolutionize travel, trade, exploration. Everything. 100%, Dr. Kim announced. Field stabilized. The wormhole is open and holding. Dr. O's voice was steady as she reported. Earth Command, Project Daybreak, is operational. The first stable wormhole in human history is now active. In the conclave chamber, Song smiled at the astonished faces around him. Humanity hasn't just been sleeping, he told them. We've been preparing, not for war, but for a new age of exploration and cooperation. This is our gift to the galaxy. The sleeping beast had awakened, bringing not nightmares but dreams made real. President Han Jin-woo stood before the galactic representatives, the wormhole generation matrix hovering behind him, technology that rewrote the rules of interstellar travel and warfare. We offer partnership, not conquest, he declared, but know this, humanity will never again face extinction. The once feared beasts emerge not as conquerors but innovators, extending technological wonders in exchange for peaceful reintegration. As Commander Yoon Un-ho oversaw the construction of humanity's first new colony in 5 millennia, she reflected on their journey. The most dangerous beast isn't the one that roars loudest, she told her young daughter, but the one patient enough to wait 5,000 years for the perfect moment to change everything. The grand ceremonial chamber on Luna glittered with light, reflecting off polished lunar stone, and the ornate attire of hundreds of alien dignitaries. 6 months had passed since humanity's awakening, and the solar system had become the center of galactic attention. Ships from across known space orbited Earth, bringing trade delegations, scientific missions, and diplomatic envoys. Behind President Han, the miniature wormhole generation matrix floated in midair, a scale model of the revolutionary technology that had transformed humanity from feared myth to valued partner overnight. The actual generators, massive structures hidden within Saturn's rings and now at strategic points throughout the system, had changed the balance of power in the galaxy with their mere existence. Distinguished representatives, President Han began, his voice carrying easily through the chamber. Today marks a historic moment, the formal end of humanity's great sleep and our return to the galactic community. He was not a tall man, but Han carried himself with quiet dignity that commanded respect. Before entering stasis, he had been a diplomat specializing in conflict resolution. Now he led humanity's re-emergence with the same steady hand. 5,000 years ago, our ancestors faced a terrible choice: fight desperate wars for dwindling resources, or step back, sleep, and trust in the future. They chose patience over violence, hope over despair. He gestured to the wormhole matrix. That choice has brought us here today, offering not conquest, but partnership. In the front row, Ambassador Krell of the Nathori nodded slowly, his ancient eyes thoughtful. The Nathori had been among the first to recognize the opportunity in human awakening rather than the threat. The technology we offer, stable wormhole generation, gravity manipulation, advanced materials science, will benefit all peaceful species, Han continued. We seek fair trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense against common threats. His voice grew firmer as he added, but let me be absolutely clear. Humanity will never again face extinction. Our long sleep has given us protections beyond anything we could have developed in direct competition. Any aggression against human worlds or interests will be met with overwhelming force. Some of the delegates shifted uncomfortably, but none could dispute the reality. The brief, one-sided battle at Jupiter had demonstrated humanity's defensive capabilities. The wormhole technology proved their scientific advancement. Humanity didn't need to conquer. They had positioned themselves as indispensable partners instead. We were painted as monsters in our absence, Han said, his tone softening. Today, judge us by our actions, not by ancient fears. The sleeping beast has awakened and extends a hand in friendship. The applause began slowly but swelled to fill the chamber. Not everyone was convinced. The Vrexar delegation remained seated, their expressions grim. But the tide had turned decisively in humanity's favor. Later that evening, at the diplomatic reception in the Lunar Gardens, Admiral Kang Sunmi found herself in conversation with General Thorne of the Pelleran Defense Force. Ingenious strategy, the insectoid general admitted, mandibles clicking softly. Your species sacrificed one generation to save all future ones. Most wouldn't have the patience. Kang sipped her drink, watching the mingling crowd of humans and aliens. It wasn't easy. Millions volunteered for stasis knowing they might never wake. Billions more stayed behind to face Earth's decline, knowing they were buying time for those who slept. And your caretaker AIs, Thorne noted. Most species would fear creating such powerful entities and leaving them unsupervised for millennia. Who says they were unsupervised? Kang smiled slightly. The military leadership was programmed to be awakened periodically for evaluation and directive updates. I myself was awakened 3 times during the long sleep, each time for only a few weeks to review progress and adjust priorities. Across the solar system, humanity was fully awakening. On Mars, the colonial city of New Beijing bustled with activity as terraforming operations accelerated. The red planet was becoming more habitable by the day, with oxygen levels rising and temperature stabilizing under massive environmental domes. In orbit around Venus, enormous climate modification platforms worked to transform the hellish world into something humans could eventually inhabit. The technology that would take centuries to change Venus had been developed during humanity's long absence. Even Earth itself was healing, its oceans cleaner, its atmosphere restored, its wildlife rebounding after 5 millennia with minimal human presence. The caretaker AIs had maintained small, sustainable human populations descended from those who chose to remain awake, living in harmony with the recovering planet. But perhaps the most significant development was happening far from the solar system. Near the edge of what had once been considered human space, Commander Yun-Ho stood on a ridge, overlooking the construction of New Horizon Colony, humanity's first extrasolar settlement since the Great Sleep. The world had been chosen carefully, an Earth-like planet orbiting a stable star, with no indigenous intelligent life. Through the newly established wormhole, supplies and colonists arrived daily. What would have once been a journey of decades now took mere hours. Beside her stood her 6-year-old daughter, Gia, born after the awakening, the first generation of a new human era. The child watched with wonder as construction mechs erected gleaming buildings in the valley below. "Will we live here forever?" "Mom?" Gia asked, her small hand gripping her mother's. Yun-Ho smiled down at her daughter. "This is just the beginning, little one. Soon there will be many human worlds again." "The alien teacher at school said humans used to be scary," Gia said, thoughtfully. "That we were beasts who slept for a long time, but we don't look scary." Yun-Ho knelt beside her daughter, turning her gently to face the valley where humans and friendly alien species worked side by side to build the colony. "Do you know what makes someone truly powerful, Gia? It's not how loud they roar or how sharp their teeth are." The child shook her head. "The most dangerous beast isn't the one that roars loudest," Yun-Ho explained, "but the one patient enough to wait 5,000 years for the perfect moment to change everything." Gia considered this, with the seriousness only children can manage. "So we were sleeping but also getting stronger." "Exactly." Yun-Ho brushed a strand of hair from her daughter's face. "Our ancestors gave us this gift, time. They chose to sleep so that one day we could stand here on a new world without having to fight for it." As the sun set on the new colony, painting the alien sky in familiar shades of orange and purple, humanity's future seemed brighter than it had in millennia. The sleeping beast had awakened not to conquer, but to build, to take its place among the stars not through fear, but through innovation and cooperation. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity.